My sister-in-law kept barging into our home, never giving us peace. "We're moving back in with our parents," my husband told her. "Finally," she cheered, thinking she could ditch the chores and claim our house. But when we left, she called in a panic. "Where the hell are you?" "My name is April. I'm 35, married, and live in a cozy 3-bedroom house with my husband Josh and our 10-year-old son Dylan. We both work full-time, but we manage. Or at least, we used to, before Melissa started treating our home like her personal lounge. Melissa is my brother-in-law's wife. When I first met her at a family barbecue, she was polite, bubbly even. She complimented my pasta salad and helped carry the folding chairs to the backyard. I never imagined that 2 years later, she'd be invading my home almost every day, uninvited. It started gradually. She'd stop by, just to say hi, and I'd offer her coffee or a snack. Then the visits became more frequent, once a week, then twice, then nearly every afternoon. At some point, she stopped calling first. She just showed up. That afternoon, I walked into my house after a long shift and instantly regretted not locking the door. Melissa was already on the couch barefoot, sipping one of Dylan's juice boxes and scrolling through her phone. Netflix was blaring some dating show I'd never watch. "You're late," she said without looking up. "I'm starving." I didn't answer right away. I dropped my bag by the kitchen counter and looked at the grocery receipt still folded in my jacket pocket. I hadn't bought anything extra because I hadn't expected company. Again. "I didn't know you were coming," I said. Melissa rolled her eyes. "You always say that. You know I stopped by around this time." No, I didn't know that, and I was tired of pretending I was okay with it. Dylan peeked out from his room and mouthed silently. "Is she staying for dinner?" I shrugged. By the time Josh got home, she'd already helped herself to leftovers and packed more into a container for later. She winked at me as she tucked it into her oversized tote bag. "Thanks for the meal." That night, after she finally left, Josh and I sat at the table in silence. "She snapped at Dylan," I said. "Called him sensitive because he didn't want her using his colored pencils." And she finished the last of the chicken casserole. Josh rubbed his eyes. "She's out of control. I'll talk to Brandon tomorrow. He's my brother after all." "I doubt it'll help," I muttered. "He can't even tell her to use a coaster." But Josh promised he'd try. Melissa didn't wait for the week to be over. The very next day, she showed up again, this time banging on the door with the back of her wrist. "I need wine," she announced when I opened it. Red. Full-bodied. "You're out?" I blinked. "Melissa, I just got home from work." "Exactly," she said, brushing past me. "You could have grabbed a bottle. It's not like you didn't know I'd be here." I laughed. "I didn't know that, actually." She stopped, turned, and crossed her arms. "You're kidding, right? I've been here 3 days in a row. And I never asked you to be." That's when she got angry. She tossed her purse onto the couch and glared. "Fine," she snapped. "Go now." "I'm not watching this movie without wine. You have 10 minutes. Melissa." I said go. She grabbed my keys from the hook and shoved them into my hand. And stupidly, I went. Because arguing would have taken more energy than I had left. I returned 20 minutes later to find Dylan scrubbing something sticky off the floor. The same juice box I saw her sipping earlier now lay empty, crushed on the carpet. "Why are you cleaning this?" I asked. He looked embarrassed. "She told me it was my fault for leaving it on the table." I nearly dropped the wine bottle. I stormed into the living room where she was stretched out under my throw blanket. "You spilled that juice." Not him, she didn't even flinch. "He needs to learn to take responsibility. Besides, you're the one who went out for wine. You blackmailed me into it." She snatched the bottle from my hands and twisted the cap. "I'm done," I said. "You need to stop coming here uninvited." Melissa raised her glass. "Cheers to that." That night, I cried in the shower. When I got out, Josh was waiting by the sink. "I tried calling Brandon," he said, "but he didn't answer." Texted once, then stopped replying. Of course he didn't. I sat on the edge of the tub. He's probably hiding behind her. And then the universe threw another wrench in. The next day, my mother called. My father had fallen down the stairs. Not badly enough for surgery, but badly enough to need daily care. "I'll come stay and help," I told her. "No," she said firmly. "You have Dylan. You have work. Your father and I will figure it out," but I couldn't get the image out of my head. My mom struggling to lift him, fix meals, run errands. They were both in their late 60s, still independent, still proud, but tired. That evening I told Josh everything. She said they'll manage, but they won't. And I can't keep doing this with Melissa. Josh leaned back in his chair. What if we moved in with your parents? Temporarily. Help out while your dad recovers. And, bonus, we escape the Melissa situation. I blinked. You'd be okay with that? He smiled. I'd be thrilled. I felt something I hadn't in weeks. Relief. We started packing the next day. Dylan was excited about living at Grandma's for a while. I called my mom, and though she hesitated at first, I could hear the gratitude in her voice. Josh made one more call, this time to Melissa. I just wanted to let you know, he said, walking into the hallway with his phone. We're moving out next month. Back in with our parents? From the sound of it, she was overjoyed. Finally! I heard her laugh through the speaker. I'll get the guest room ready. Josh looked confused but didn't clarify. He ended the call and turned to me. She thinks we're moving in with my mom. I raised an eyebrow. Did you say your parents or my parents? I said our parents. She hung up before I could explain. I paused. You don't think she's planning something? Josh shrugged. Does it matter? But it did. Something in Melissa's voice wasn't just happiness, it was anticipation. And whatever it was, she was going to be very, very wrong. The following weeks flew by in a blur of boxes, bubble wrap, and whispered conversations at night. Josh and I packed gradually, trying not to tip Melissa off. She still popped by almost every day, acting more entitled than ever. She started dropping subtle hints, too. You know, once you guys move out, this place will finally feel like it has space to breathe. It's such a great layout for a more social atmosphere. I bit my tongue so hard I thought I tasted blood. Then one day, she brought over a catalog of curtains. I've always hated those blinds in the living room, she said, spreading fabric swatches across my table. Maybe once you're settled at Josh's mom's, I can update things here. I looked at her slowly. Why would you be redecorating this house? She blinked. Well, since I'll be spending more time here, I figured I'd make it feel homier. Melissa, we own this house, not your in-laws. She laughed. Right, but you're moving. I just assumed. Never mind. She dropped the subject, but I could see something churning behind her eyes. That night I told Josh. She's planning something. She thinks this is a free upgrade. I said our parents. I never said it was my mom's house, he replied. She made her own assumptions. Exactly, I said. And she didn't let you correct her? Josh paused. She hung up before I could. The day before our move, Melissa showed up with a duffel bag and a toolkit. What are you doing? I asked. Oh, just measuring the door frames. I'm thinking of bringing in a reading nook. Maybe a small wine cabinet. Don't worry, I won't touch Dylan's room. Not yet, anyway. I just stared at her. She winked. You'll thank me later. I walked away before I exploded. Moving day. It was a Saturday morning. Josh loaded the last suitcase into the car while Dylan waved goodbye to the neighbors. I double-checked the thermostat, locked all the windows, and left Melissa's spare key on the kitchen counter. The moment the front door clicked shut, a weight lifted from my chest. We arrived at my parents' house around noon. Mom met us at the door with homemade banana bread. Dad was in his recliner, leg in a brace, smiling sheepishly. You didn't have to come, he said. I did, I told him. And I'm not just here to visit. I'm here to help Josh and Dylan set up their room while I unpacked groceries and set up the guest bathroom. It felt like a peaceful reset. Until my phone rang. 20 missed calls. All from Melissa. When I finally picked up, she sounded hysterical. Where are you? Where are you? I held the phone away from my ear. We moved. Like we said we would. I know that, she shrieked. But why is the house locked? Why is everything gone? You said you were moving in with your parents. I did, I said calmly. My parents. There was a long, dead pause on the other end. Wait, she said slowly. Your parents? Yes, my mom and dad, not Josh's mom. You mean you're not at Emma's? I furrowed my brow. No, why would we be at Emma's? Her voice pitched higher. Because Josh said we're moving back in with our parents. I assumed he meant Emma. I was getting ready for you guys to take over. Take over what? The house, she snapped. The chores. The meals. The bills. I was finally going to breathe. I stood frozen in the middle of my mom's kitchen. You planned to dump everything on us. I was going to take a break, just for a few weeks. I've been under a lot of stress. So you assumed we'd come live at Emma's and cater to you. It's not like I didn't earn it, she shouted. I've been visiting you for weeks. Supporting you? I couldn't help it, I laughed, out loud. You've been eating our food, yelling at my kid, and throwing juice boxes on the floor. Don't turn this on me, she screamed. You lied to me. I didn't lie. You didn't listen. She hung up. Josh walked in just then, eyebrows raised. That sounded intense. She thought we moved in with your mom. He burst out laughing. I told you she wasn't listening. The next day, we were getting ready to visit Dad's physical therapist when my phone rang again. This time, Melissa didn't yell. She whispered. You need to come here, she said. Now. Why? She paused. Just come. Before I could ask more, she hung up. I stared at the phone, confused. What now? Josh asked. She wants us to come to Emma's. She sounded weird. Josh hesitated. Maybe something actually happened. Like what? She's not the one with a broken leg. I think we should go, he said. Something's off. We dropped Dylan at my parents' house and drove straight to Emma's. The moment we walked through the front door, we were met with total silence. Then, Emma's voice. In here. We stepped into the living room and found Emma sitting stiffly on the couch. Brandon stood behind her, arms crossed. Melissa sat on the edge of a chair, eyes wide, face pale. What's going on? I asked. Emma handed me a folder. Inside, bank statements, credit card receipts, cash withdrawals, all from Emma's personal account. I confronted her, Emma said, about the missing money. She screamed, then left. Vanished for 3 days. No calls, no texts. Brandon thought she was with you. Melissa muttered. I wasn't. You were using my mother's savings? Josh asked. Melissa's eyes narrowed. It was just a little money. I needed space. I was planning to pay it back. With what? Brandon asked coldly. She had no answer. Then Emma dropped the real bombshell. She said once you two moved in, she wouldn't have to lift a finger again. That you'd cook, clean, cover the bills so she could heal from burnout. I stared at Melissa. You weren't joking. Melissa's voice cracked. I thought I had time to get things together. And that's when Brandon reached into his coat and pulled out divorce papers. I'm done, he said. This was the last straw. Melissa's words echoed through the room like smoke after a kitchen fire. This is your fault. You ruined everything. You were supposed to help. Brandon didn't even blink. You're really blaming April? After everything? Melissa stood up so fast the chair squeaked behind her. If she hadn't tricked me, if they had just moved into this house like I thought, none of this would have happened. Josh laughed under his breath. You mean, if we'd unknowingly stepped into your fantasy where we cook and clean for you while you max out Emma's savings? I wouldn't have needed the money if I had support, Melissa snapped. I crossed my arms. Melissa, you used our house like a vending machine for months, made my son clean up your spills, and tried to hijack this place like you were inheriting it. Now you're standing here pretending we owe you something? Her lips trembled. You're exaggerating. Emma raised an eyebrow. Are we? Melissa glanced around like the walls were caving in. You're all ganging up on me. Brandon stepped forward. I'm done, Melissa. I've been done for a while. But this, stealing from my mother, lying to my brother, using April's family like free labor, this is the end. He placed the divorce papers gently on the table between them. She stared at them like they were in a foreign language. Brandon, please. We can fix this. No, he said. We can't. We left shortly after. Josh didn't say much on the drive back to my parents' house. Neither did I. The sun was low and the roads were empty, but my mind wasn't. When we got home, Dylan was showing my dad how to play a racing game on his tablet. My mom had made meatloaf. For the first time in weeks, I felt peace again. That night, as I lay in bed, I kept thinking about Melissa's last sentence. You were supposed to help. She really believed that. Not because she was delusional, but because she'd lived her life assuming that other people, especially other women, would fix her messes. The next morning, I got a message from Brandon. Thanks again. Sorry you got dragged into it. My lawyer will be sending Emma the repayment agreement today. We're holding her accountable for everything, down to the groceries she stole from your house. It felt oddly satisfying. But what I didn't expect was what came next. 2 weeks later, I was folding laundry at my parents' house when my mom walked in holding her phone. It's for you. It's her Melissa. I took the phone reluctantly. She didn't even greet me. I'm staying in a rental on 5th and Maple. It's awful. It smells like cat pee, and the upstairs neighbors vacuum at 2 a.m. I don't have a car anymore. I'm working double shifts at a diner. I've lost 10 pounds in stress weight. I didn't say a word. I just wanted you to know, she continued, that I blame you the least. The least? I echoed. You're not as bad as Brandon. Or Emma. Or even Josh. You were just caught in the middle. I almost laughed. Caught in the middle of what? You created the chaos. I was trying to cope, she said defensively. Burnout is real. Stealing isn't coping. There was silence on the line. Then she sniffed. I know I messed up. I just thought, maybe if things had gone differently, we could have been friends. I hung up. A month passed. Life resumed its normal rhythm. My dad's recovery was slow but steady. I started working remotely part-time. Josh was thriving in a quieter space. Dylan loved helping my mom in the garden. We were happy. Then one afternoon, Emma came over with a brown envelope. I thought you should see this. Inside was a copy of the reimbursement agreement. It detailed exactly what Melissa owed, down to the last dollar. Emma had filed a civil claim to recover not just the savings Melissa had used, but also the groceries, utilities, and hospitality expenses from our home. It won't cover everything, Emma said, but it'll be on her record. And more importantly, she can't pretend none of it happened. I nodded slowly. Thank you. Emma hesitated. I'm sorry, by the way. I should have noticed sooner how she was treating you. At your house, I mean. You never said anything, I smiled. You wouldn't have believed me. She's very good at pretending. She won't be anymore, Emma said. Not after this. A few days later, Brandon reached out again. We finalized everything. Her portion of your grocery reimbursements is going into your account this week. It's not much, but it's symbolic. He added a line that made me laugh out loud. She tried to argue she was a guest. The judge said, guests don't extort wine. It's been 3 months now. Melissa works full-time as a hostess and part-time as a temp. She's renting a tiny 1-bedroom above a laundromat. Brandon has filed for full separation of assets. Emma's credit accounts are frozen until restitution is complete. As for me, I never invited her back. I never even told her where we moved after my dad recovered. Because I realized something. You don't have to burn bridges. You just have to stop building them for people who show up with matches.